I'm Rich Andreski, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Along the Lines. And for one last time, I'm your host, Rich Andreski. This episode is going to be my last episode with Along the Lines. Many of you may have heard I will be leaving the Connecticut Department of Transportation, ending my career here in Connecticut, to take a job as president and CEO of the Trinity Metro System in Fort Worth, Texas. This has been a difficult decision for me. Connecticut DOT has really been a highlight for me. I have enjoyed being here at the DOT and working on such important projects, but more importantly, working with some really fantastic people. The mission of the Connecticut Department of Transportation is transportation, but it's public service. Every day we come in, collectively, we work to improve the lives of Connecticut residents and businesses. We're responsible at the Connecticut DOT for a statewide transportation system, a truly multimodal system. We have highways, and under my bureau, we have rail lines, our bus rapid transit system, CT Fast Track. We have an extensive statewide bus system. We have paratransit services, Connecticut River ferries, and even coordination and regulation of the taxi, livery, and household goods industries. And our mission is really important. We touch the lives of just about every resident in Connecticut in one way or another. Even if you don't use these services benefit the quality of life in your communities, reduce congestion on the roads, have environmental benefits, and certainly provide access to people that may not have access to a car. So really proud of the time here. It's been a difficult decision to come to the decision to leave, but I think my observation, having worked here for the last 7 years, is that the agency, the people at the DOT care deeply about the mission. There's a set of professionals that have devoted their careers, their education, and then their professional careers to improving and designing transit, rail, and highways. And that mission will go on, as will this podcast. So although I've been your host for the last couple of years, we are going to be having some guest hosts on the program and hopefully at some point a permanent replacement host for me. Additionally, the DOT is going to be looking for a replacement for me. So that position is up, and many of you are in the transportation community, and I'd urge you to think about your network and to think about potential candidates for this position. I like to think of our jobs or respective roles in our companies as we all hold jobs on a temporary basis. Sometimes temporary is a long time, but we're in a relay race and we get to pass the baton to the next person. So I'm proud of really what we've accomplished at the agency over the last 7 years. I'm proud of our team in the Bureau of Public Transportation. I'll give you a few highlights of sort of what I look back on fondly. I think that the launch of CT Rail Hartford line was an enormous success for this agency, a very challenging program, a program that had been around for some time, was underway when I got here, but the launch of that service was successful beyond measure. Crowds on those trains on opening day. I remember being out there on opening weekend, and we actually had to turn people away. We had so many people wanting to ride those trains. By continuing to modernize and upgrade our bus transit systems, completed major studies on the future of the transit system, including the Move New Haven bus study, which will lead to bus rapid transit in the near future. We ordered, more rail cars for the New Haven line. We added or upgraded rail stations in many locations. We introduced our first eTix mobile app for ticketing and introduced features like Apple Pay and Google Pay to pay for ticket purchases. One of the more recent highlights, and I'm very excited about, is the start of a customer experience action plan, reaching out in a broad way statewide to all riders and hearing what they have to say. That work is ongoing, and I'm excited to see the results of that later this year, even if I won't be here in Connecticut. And then other initiatives like the major breakthrough that we had with the city of New Haven on the redevelopment of historic New Haven Union Station, and that long-term partnership agreement really sets the stage for great things to happen. Both, an architectural and historic renovation of the station, but really reimagining what that station can be with upgraded retail experience, um, redevelopment around the station, and really, really exciting things to come around in the city of New Haven. And then, of course, service. Um, Governor Lamont has really challenged us to say we need to make train service faster. It just takes too long to get around Connecticut on the railroad and into New York City. And so we've had an ongoing multi-year effort to shave travel time off the schedules. And that plan was announced last year as Time for CT. And Time for CT is happening. It's not one of these documents that'll sit on a shelf. It's an active roadmap to challenge us to get to historic travel times on the railroad, as little as an hour and 21 minutes over the between New Haven and New York City. These programs are all happening. They're happening in a really coordinated way with our partners. It's been a privilege for me to get to work with great people at Metro North and Amtrak, um, and all of our bus providers around the state. The public transportation system in Connecticut really depends on these relationships and these third parties, and there's a lot of people that the general public may not realize are behind the scenes working to make sure those buses and trains run on time every day. And it's been a privilege and an honor to work here as bureau chief. I'm going to miss this agency. I'm going to miss the people, and I'm going to miss our communities and friends and neighbors here in Connecticut. It's been again a privilege and an honor, and so glad I could spend these last 7 years um, with all of you working on that important. So projects were one of the core objectives of the Bureau of Public Transportation, but it's really about selling a vision for the future. And continued investment in public transportation means we have to tell our story. Why do we need to invest more? Why is it important to sustain these efforts? And one of the ideas that we came up with was this podcast. Along the lines was an idea to have more direct engagement with our stakeholders. And podcasts are unique in many ways. It's time that all of you listening to this are taking out of your day. You may be in the car, maybe out for a run. It's a very sort of direct and unfiltered way to reach people with an interest in these topics. I'm so proud, looking back on this podcast program, so proud of what we've accomplished. We started our first podcast in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, and we are almost 2 years in. We've published 31 episodes to date. We've had 65 guests on the program. The guests range from Commissioner Katie Dykes was on the program. We had Mayor Aaron Stewart. We had, of course, our own Deputy Commissioner Garrett Ucolito. We had transit leaders like Joe Comerford, Dennis Zelensky. We had our COG partners, Rick Dunn. We had others talking from around the world, Brent Tutterin from Urban Works talking about urban design and urban form. Such a wonderful set of guests that have shared their views on public transportation and what public transportation means to our communities. We've published so far over almost 14 hours of content. That's also remarkable. But I think the most remarkable statistic here is that nearly 5,000 people or 5,000 downloads of this program have happened, at least through the recording of this podcast. That's incredible to me. Those are 5,000 listens that we had on topics ranging from COVID-19, social equity, rail safety, CT fast track, active transportation, ADA and paratransit, our UPass program, mobility on demand. We talked about Waterbury line improvements. It's just very exciting and gratifying to see that so many of you have responded and actually continued to listen. And I'm heartened by that. I think what that says to me is that there's an interest in what the DOT is doing. I'm certainly not taking any credit for this. I think that our guests are really the stars of this show. The guests really bring interesting perspectives. I know our rail historian was one of the most listened to episodes of our program, and just talking about the history of the railroad in Connecticut. So some fascinating stories. And I think that's really how many of us are wired. We're wired to listen to stories and to hear ideas through stories. And it's a very great way to be non-confrontational. You could talk about controversial topics, but when you're telling a story, it's really someone's experience. And I think we collectively need to do more of that. That's my hope for the future, that this podcast will continue. We're going to have some guest hosts for a period of time. But I also want to thank our producers. We've had, so I show up a couple times a month and sit in front of a microphone and interact with guests. And I have, sometimes I'll have a couple of pages in front of me with a script and opening set of comments. But really, the people that make this happen day in and day out are our team of DOT, Connecticut DOT, and CT Rides team members. Really great bunch. At Connecticut DOT, we have Dave Raby and Emma Peterson helping with this program. Dave's been tireless in sort of raising the bar and making sure we have good guests and making sure that I'm on task. I can be sometimes difficult to pin down given my schedule, but Dave is relentless, and I really appreciate Dave's contributions. And then CT Rides, I think many of you know this, but CT Rides is really an extension of the DOT team. CT Rides provides many services to the DOT and to our riders. From the CT Rides team, we have Ed Perzanowski, Carla Lorenz, and Erica Condon, who have really helped as well keep a high quality program. A lot of the editing and coordination with our guests, a lot of the Q&A and post-production is all happening at CT Rides, and I really appreciate their contributions as well. So it takes, as we know, and I know this being where I am in my career, you're only as good as the people around you. And for that, if you like this program, please know that those individuals all contributed greatly to the success of the program. And so as this is my last podcast, I'd like to encourage all of you to continue to stick around and continue to download these podcasts. It's something that Connecticut DOT will be continuing. Exciting guests coming up in the future and great topics. I appreciate the time that you've spent with me over these last few years, whether you've tuned in for only this episode or are a regular listener. Really appreciated this. This has been a great experience. I've learned a lot, and I hope you did too. So with that, this is Rich Andreski, one last time, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation with the Connecticut DOT. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Rich Andreski. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.